G'day guys, welcome back to SuperCoach for DR. Hope you're being well. Today I'm going to give you a team update for BBL SuperCoach. I put out my first team a couple of weeks ago, but there's certainly been some changes since then. One thing I've noticed with BBL SuperCoach, or one thing I've learned very, very quickly, is that it is so volatile. You really need to keep up with all the latest news due to player availability, injuries, form in red ball cricket, form in the T10 tournaments. There's so much going on at the moment, and I'm making constant changes every day. I'm involved in a couple of really great Twitter chats with, Scobie Bryant, some absolute legends there. And there are some absolute ripping content creators out there that are also producing some fantastic BBL Supercoach content. There's some Discord servers like the SC Playbook. Make sure you check those guys out. The Podmasters with Dr. Kando in regards to YouTube content. You've got Damon from Supercoach Edge, the great Damo, formerly of Jock Reynolds. He's got his own YouTube channel now. Make sure you sub up to him. You've got Swizz from Insider, the Insight Boys. Spills will be doing his weekly round reviews. So many great content creators out there. I'm sure that I've missed a few. And if I have, and you're watching this video, make sure that you drop a comment down below and let people know where they can actually find you, because there's been some fantastic stuff going on in the preseason. We're only 3-4 days away now, so vital that you're up to date with that news and you are starting to lock in some of these players. So that's it for the intro, guys. Let's get into this team, and I'll do my best to explain why I'm selecting certain players, and again, always up for some critical or constructive feedback. Let's get into it. Alrighty, so let's get into it. As you can see, I've got just over 80k stashed in the bank there. That's in order for me to make a few moves come round two, because I don't have many strikers players. I've only got the one strikers player in Darcy Short, and he's certainly no primo in preparation for their round two double. So I'll certainly need to bring 2 to 3 strikers players in next week, but I'll need some cash in order to do that. And that bank balance may be even friendlier, depending on if I make a change to my batting bench. I could free up 20 to even 40k there. So I'll talk about those changes when I get to it. But look, to start off with, in the wicketkeeper position, I have Sam Billings. I think he's a pretty easy selection. We know that the Heat players have 3 bites of the cherry come round one. We know that in rounds 2 and 3 in particular, he'll be batting right at the top of the order. Round 1, we have Khawaja and Labuschagne in, which may affect him slightly when it comes to his batting position. But for me, he's a really solid pick. And at 116k, I don't think we can go wrong there. I'm going to pair him up with Sam Whiteman. So he's been in ripping form in red ball cricket. A high chance to open, got that wicketkeeper DPP status. You can loop him during their 2 consecutive buys. Remember, he's got 2 doubles after that. So I think that'll be really handy to get your best wicketkeeper score, because I'm currently running with a few, as you can see as well. Cheap price, very, very easy bench option. So they're my 2 wicketkeepers. On to the batters now. This bloke is one of my favourite players in the comp. Had him for most of last year and was an absolute joy to watch. Up there with the best roles in Supercoach. It's Aaron Hardy. So should bat 3 or 4, bowl 2 to 4 overs, depending on team setup. He's a big man, loves to hit a big ball, and he's locked in for the round 1 double. Strike rate bonus could come into effect with someone like a Hardy as well. So always love those all-rounders. Hardy is an absolute lock for me. The next bloke here I've got is Colin Munro. Again, very, very close to a lock. One of the biggest locks in my side, I think. As I mentioned with Billings, Heat are obviously on the triple. I'll stop mentioning that because we all know that by now, but should be right for the first 3 games. In his last 3 T10 games, scored an undefeated 36 off 15 balls, didn't bat in the second, and then scored an unbeaten 44 off 27. So that equates to 71 and 79 points in the games where he did bat. His break even over 3 games is 151. So I think that's almost bang on with a bonus game thrown in. So 71, 79 is right on 150 points. So if he can somehow replicate that, he's got that 3rd game as a bit of a bonus. We know that cricket is a very volatile game. I doubt whether or not it'll happen like that exactly, but hopefully he can jag at least one really, really big score to make it worthwhile for us. Now, this next position here, this is why you need to keep up to date with all the recent news, because this spot originally belonged to Quinton de Kock literally 10 minutes ago. But with the news that he'll miss the first 2 games, I've decided to switch him to Clark. He'll keep for the first two bites of the cherry. We know that they have great fixture 5 games in the first 3 rounds. We know that he's batted in Aussie conditions many times before. He's had some really, really big games in the past as well when he was playing for the Stars. So I think with De Kock out, it's a pretty obvious selection here. But in saying that, he could also potentially go to someone like a Will Sutherland, who will bat lower in the order, but should bowl, what would you say, at least 2 to 4 overs there most games. So he's in consideration as well, Will Sutherland, but I'm saving a little bit extra money here on Joe Clark. Don't love the selection, would have much rather lock in Quinton de Kock, but I think he's around 9% ownership. I'm assuming that will go up with the news that de Kock is out. So a little bit unfortunate there, but Joe Clark hopefully will be a decent selection. Glenn Maxwell, I'm just going to say no explanation needed here. Everyone should have him in their side. If you don't, I think you're absolutely nuts, to be quite honest. Now, this next bloke is my man, Scobie Bryant's man, and it is Paul Walter. Now, I'm looking for an all-rounder that plays for the Heat, and he seems to be the man for me. I'm jumping on the train with Nath because it's all about role here. He should play all 3, could bat at 5 or 6, getting 3 overs or more. He's a big lad, loves to give it a whack, big strike rate candidate here. And in an ideal world, could even bowl some death overs. Again, that is in an ideal world, though. Only in 9% of teams, so very similar to a Joe Clark there. So a very nice point of difference. I'm all aboard the Paul Walter train, and I'm just going to keep him on field. I sent my team through to Nath. I said, what are you thinking here, mate? And the one thing he said to me is, because I was originally going to loop him, just get him on field. He's an absolute gun. So I am all over Mr. Paul Walter. The next bloke here. Now, this is a spot that could change for me. I've currently got Josh Philippe here, and I'm a little bit too afraid to anti-pod. If he goes off in one of the first 2 games, I may be behind the 8 ball. If he wasn't in 50% of sides, I would genuinely fade, and I still may. But we know what he's capable of when he's on. The other potential selections here for me are Fraser McGurk and Nick Manninson. Mano in particular is really spiked my interest, and he was not on my radar at all. It's all about the news involving Quinton de Kock. So I'm going to do a fair bit of research on Maddo, see what happens with Fraser McGurk. Is it him, Harvey, that comes into the side? Still not sure at the moment, but if it looks like McGurk will be getting a game early, then I could free up 40K there on Philippe and get that bank balance closer to 120K, which is really, really tempting for me. But we'll see what happens there. It is Josh Philippe for now. And Darcy Short, well, obviously has a double in round 2, cheap price, so a bit of an easy bench filler here. One good game and his price absolutely skyrockets. I'm not expecting too many big games, though. He's a bit of a shell of his former self when it comes to form, but we know he's got it in him. Fingers crossed he can go off. He will be a very popular bench option, I think, as well. On to the bowlers now. This is a really tough one, and this still may change. I was very, very keen on Jai Richardson, and I tell you what, in his latest match, I think it was a 5 for he took, whacked 40, 50 runs, I think, from memory. So he is super, super tempting. But Sean Abbott, for me, Mr. Consistent, is around 50K cheaper. And that's probably the big difference for me. Would I rather Richo? Absolutely. But I'm a big fan of Sean Abbott at the same time. He's a wicket taker. He bowls at the death during power plays. He's got great variation. Should bat at 7 or 8. Loves a catch as well. I was listening to some podcast. I forget who it was, but he loves a catch and gets a lot of bonus points there. Shout out. I'll have to remember who it was. If I do, I'll make sure I give you a shout out because that was some great info there as well. Did a bit of research on his past scoring as well. Seems to score really well against the Gades. So 83, 75, and 100 in his last 3 there. Also scored a 97 against his second opponent in the Hurricanes in his last match against them too. Last 2 at the SCG, 100 versus the Scorchers, a 79 versus the Thunder. So I'm hoping to have him for a quick time, not a long time. But in saying that as well, if I can get that bank balance to around that 120K mark, then I could easily flip, say, 3 Heat players and even keep on to him. The original plan, or the plan at this stage, is to most likely move him on after the first round to a match short, but I may even keep on to him and move on a couple of cheaper players if I've got enough money to do so. But Abbott for me is, I've mentioned before, he's a bit like Scotty Pendlebury when it comes to SuperCoach, AFL SuperCoach, just super consistent and an absolute gun. Talk about an absolute gun, similar to Abbott, it's Tom Curran. Can bowl at the death, is an international superstar, should bat middle order, and just have so many avenues to score. Now, there are some people, and I know the bloke that's won Supercoach the past 2 seasons, he's literally fading every Sydney Sixers player. And if he's doing it, then there's certainly merit to it. And I'm a little bit paranoid in a way, starting with 3. But what I like about Curran is, as I said, his avenues to score, he's so consistent. If he has a big game, he could just really get you ahead of the pack. Now, even though they don't have too many doubles, they also don't have a bias. So what that means is he's going to be a really consistent player that you won't have to worry about week upon week having a buy and being unavailable. So here's someone that I may even keep on to. It may be an Abbott that I keep on to, but we'll just see what happens there. At this stage, I think they're both guns, and I'm going a little bit against the grain possibly by having Philippe, Abbott, and Curran as well. But at this stage, I'm just going with my gut. Possibly could change, but I just love him as a player. He's in my side at the moment. The other bloke here is Kane Richardson. So I'm a big fan of the Gades fixture. Obviously, 5 games in the first 3 weeks. And he's recovered from a glute injury as well, and now will be available. He was actually out of my side. He was originally in, originally out. I downgraded him to Uraman, but given the news he'll be available come round 1, I'm just a bigger fan of Richo. Look, we know what he's like. Great bowler, bolt the death, power plays as well. Again, some with great variation, and can whack a ball down the lower order there. So I'm keen to have him on my side. Big fan of Richo. Zampa, his teammates. Wow, look at his World Cup form. It is really hard to deny. Just broke records, did everything. A pretty easy selection, again, with his friendly fixture to start. I was flirting with antipoding him and going at Ul Rahman, who I mentioned before, but he seems like a safer pick, and I think his recent form really just speaks for itself. Matt Kuhneman. Now, I'm not huge on this bloke, but again, when it comes to the Heat players, I think he has a high potential, close to a lock basically, to play the first 3 games. I think he's a number 1 spin option over Swepson. And as I mentioned, just a lock to play 3, in my opinion. Now, I could be wrong here, but at just over 100K with a break even of 100, that means that he needs, say, 4 wickets over those 3 games, 1 and a bit a game, and say 5 dot balls a game. That gets him to 100. Then he's got that bonus game as well. That's not even talking about strike rate bonus and all the, economy, not strike rate, bowling economy bonus. So for now, I'm just going to loop him with Chowdhury. And speaking about Chowdhury, bloody hell, he may not even be a loop for us because he whacked an 89 not out in the recent game he played and took 2 for 32 as well. Could he actually play for us? Well, I'll most likely start him if he does play and potentially find another loop if I have to, because he is an absolute bargain at that price if he can continue with this form or even make the side. But I'm not too sure about that at the moment. The other bloke we've got here is Cooper Connolly. So he's been in great form for WA. The coach is a big fan. Red ball cricket wise, he's absolutely smashing it at the moment. Recently opened the batting and bowled his 10 overs. Don't think he'll open for the Scorchers, but from all reports, I think the coaches will give him a big opportunity to impact the game. Love his DPP status, and at the price, I think we can even wait a little bit on him because he doesn't play till, like the 5th game of the round. So with blokes from the Scorchers, you can select them and then sort of change your minds a little bit later on in the piece, which I think is really handy. So that is a team for now. Look, what I don't like about this side is the fact that I don't have any other strikers players on the bench. Now, I could go with someone like a Payne, a Manetti type, but there's no one that I really, really like. It could be an Overton, who I originally had in my side, but I'd probably at this stage just rather get some data from the first game, see how players are playing, what role have they actually got, because I'm a little bit unsure when it comes to your Overton Payne types, how they're going to score. So that's probably my strategy for now, rather than stashing one on the bench as well. And I tell you what, now this would be an absolutely crazy move. Another thing I'm slightly worried about is not having another Melbourne Stars player. I only got Maxi. I'm fading the Stoyne at the moment because for me, he's more of that finishing type player. And there's no guarantee that he's going to score well. He'll even get a chance to bat if the top order plays really well. I'm just a little bit iffy on him. I don't think that he's going to bowl. If it looks like that he will bowl, then I'll certainly look to get him in the side. And even just, again, like a couple of other players, particularly from the strikers, maybe just get that data from the first round. And if he does look like he's got a great role, etc., going off chops, then I may even look to get him after he comes back from his bye for the next doubles after that. So that's an option there. But one of his teammates, and as I mentioned, this is crazy, but there's some players that just have a wacky, weird sort of a history. And it's Nathan Coulter-Nile. Now, the last 6 seasons, he's only played 3 of the first round. So 3 out of 6, but he averages a whopping 151.6 from those 3 games. Now, I'm not going to do it, but if I was crazy enough and wanted like a super pod, then it's something that I could consider. But for now, I think that's probably a little bit too crazy. But look, what I plan to do here with this money now, 83,800, is that gives me the option to even move on someone like a Munro to a short. Now, he's at 156. We don't know what the price is going to be like at the end of round 1, but I think 80K should be enough to hopefully just do a straight swap there. Again, that gives me the option to keep on to an Abbott, to a Curran type, and then maybe I could get rid of a Billings, a Walter, a Kuhneman, or all 3 Heat players. We'll have to see how I go there. I'm really not too sure. But look, probably one thing I'm really tempted to do is get rid of Josh Philippe. As I said, I am worried about anti-potting him, but I think with a Fraser McGurk, with a Maddo type, they've got a much better fixture. They're cheaper. There's potential for them to bat close to the top of the order. That really does tempt me. You got old man Siddle, another Gades player. I'm a little bit unsure on. You could go someone like a Sam Harper from the Stars in preparation for their 2 doubles after the bye. You get the double in round 1 as well. There is a lot to consider, but one thing I almost guarantee you is that there's going to be news that comes through in the next 24, 48, 60 odd hours that one of these blokes won't be available for some reason or another. I can absolutely guarantee you. So as I mentioned, make sure that you are up to date with all of the latest news. Check out some of those other content creators that I gave a shout out to in the intro as well. And that will go a long way to ensuring that you get your starting team right and you've got a big crack at taking out the big prize this year. So look, guys, that is it from me for now. In regards to BBL content, I'll put out one more team update just before the start of the season. And then I'll most likely do a round review, a very quick one each week. I know that Spills does like a 5-minute one, so I may even follow suit there and just do a quick one from week to week. And if there's enough interest, we can get the Swordplay pod going. I'll get Nath back on, maybe a couple of other BBL experts as well, if there's a thirst for it, if there's enough demand for it. So let me know, guys, what you want to see in regards to any content, but make sure that you do follow those other legends that are putting out some ripping stuff at the moment. So that is it for now, guys. Let me know what you think. All feedback will be considered constructive. Give it to me if you want to. Give me a kick up the ass if you think I need it. But appreciate you watching, guys, and stay tuned on Tuesday night for a bit of NBL SuperCoach action, where I'm going to get together with my man Vern from Vern SuperCoach, and we are going to do a mid-season NBL review, which I'm really looking forward to. So this happens at the end of the videos. I just absolutely lose it and can't speak anymore. So I will stop there, guys. All the best. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Bye.